Mr. Jimmy Jackson. Thank you for sitting down with us. My name is...
Can I correct you right quick? Excuse me for intruding.
Yes, start us over.
Excuse me for being intrusive. My name is James Jackson.
Okay.
Nickname is Jimmy. William is Bill. Henry is Hank.
I was going to get to letting you state your full name, but please state your full name for us on the record.
All right, James S. Jackson.
And where are you originally from?
I'm an original native of St. Augustine, Florida. Born and reared here in St. Augustine. Born 1944, Flagler Hospital.
And what month and date were you born?
October the 25th.
Oh, I'm October 19th. We're close.
You close there.
Yes. Well, can you tell me about growing up in St. Augustine and just maybe starting with your childhood?
Well, growing up in St. Augustine, my early childhood, I can remember, St. Augustine was a very distinct place. The St. Augustine, the neighborhood situation was, you're really going to think that this city was integrated. You'd find that here, Central Avenue, Martin Luther King, right here. After you went north and right at Bridge Street, going north, you would find blacks south of Bridge, whites north of Bridge. Washington Street, two-way street. You found black individuals living one side of a street, whites opposite side of the street. You would get into areas where you would walk out your back door and your neighbor, your neighbor behind you, home faced a different street, but they were white and you were black, and you were not allowed to go and live in that neighborhood. So you find that St. Augustine was a very distinct place to go and live. Me, I'm Roman Catholic. I attended St. Benedict de Moore Catholic Church, which is located here on MLK and St. Francis. My early childhood, I've always attended church with whites. As a matter of fact, on becoming an altar boy, I would serve communion, and here we are, whites, right next to the blacks, receiving communion in church. But this was that Catholic church was the only church in St. Augustine that was, quote, integrated, but it wasn't stated it was integrated, it was Catholic. You follow me? Out of the Baptist churches, larger churches, that was white. Blacks were not allowed to worship there with the whites. So, like I say, St. Augustine was a very distinct place to go and live, and living. Me, early education, I was fortunate enough to go in my early education, elementary school. I never had a black instructor here in St. Augustine, in St. Augustine, as segregated as the South was at that particular time. I never had a black instructor until I got to junior high or high school, when I had to go and transfer to our public school. Never, and living here all my life, never having a black instructor.
Okay. And what part of St. Augustine did you live in? Because I'm familiar where we're technically sitting here in the Lincolnville Museum and Culture Center, which is the OSL High School. This is Lincolnville. And then there's West
St. Augustine.
West St. Augustine. What part were you raised in?
I was raised right here in the Lincolnville area. As a matter of fact, there are a couple of homes that we lived in. We were renters at that time. A stone's throw away from where we're sitting right now. As a matter of fact, my grandmother was employed right across the street at the Buckingham Smith nursing home. That's the place that employed my grandmother. You find right down here, Moore Street, right here, at the end of Moore and Riberia. That was one place that we resided at one time. So I grew up here in the Lincolnville area.
And can you tell me more about your family? Speak about your parents and grandparents.
I can give you a little bit I do have. My father was a commercial stripper, seaman, what you call. He worked on one of those shrimp trawlers. As a matter of fact, with him not having a formal education, my dad was self-taught. He actually, at one time, navigated a shrimp trawler from here to Mexico and back without a high school education. My mother was born in Columbia, South Carolina, and they migrated, and my grandmother, they migrated here. My mother, she was employed by the Sisters of St. Joseph, which the nuns were the nuns that taught at the school, and they were Catholic. So neither one of them, per se. Now, my mother had a little bit more education than my father did, but you find that between the two of them, they stressed education. I'm fortunate enough to go and say that it was 5 of us. I have 4 siblings and myself. My older brother, he attended school here. He did basically the same things that I did, St. Benedict. But he attended public school. He was in the first graduating class of our new high school, which was Richard J. Murray High School, 5759. He's a retired major from the military. I have one brother who is deceased. He attended Florida Normal Industrial College. He didn't complete it, but he did go and do a career in the military himself. My older sister, she graduated Murray High School. She's a retired nurse practitioner. Me, like I said, I started my education 1 year at Florida Normal College. I in turn dropped out, but and I have a younger sister that's a high school graduate. So my dad was strange about that. I can remember this one distinct thing about him. He stressed and taught independence. And I can remember him working out of the Key West area down there shrimping. And I was about 14 or so. And Daddy, I want to come and work with you this summer for a job. And his reply was, said, no problem, you can come and work with me, but you've got to make your grade. In other words, you have to pass. You have to stay in school. And I thought about that. I said, now, you know, after I got grown, I said, you old sly sucker, I could have stayed home. That someone played and enjoyed myself, the whole bit. And you still would have had to go and provide for me, but he gave me an incentive to get an education and get an education and be independent on my own. So he was all slick of it. He was slick.
And just for our records, can you please state your parents' name for us?
Father, William Henry Jackson. Mother, Ora Bell Jackson.
And would you like to list your siblings just by first name?
Pardon me?
Your siblings, you can list their name as well.
Okay, the siblings, older brother, that would be William Jackson. Deceased brother, Henry Jackson. Sister, Brenda Jackson. Younger sister, Wanda Jackson.
Awesome. And you mentioned how your mother's family moved from South Carolina. And we've done multiple interviews thus far with other individuals, different families who also migrated to St. Augustine, Florida. Do you kind of know any information prior to why they might have moved to St. Augustine or what life was like for them in South Carolina?
I'm sorry, I have no information pertaining to that.
Okay, no problem.
Right.
So you was born here, you was living and was raised in Lincolnville, this particular community. Can you just talk about what it was like as an everyday child growing up in this neighborhood?
Like an everyday child growing up in this neighborhood in Lincolnville, that was an experience. You go and find that they have a thing now. You've heard of these old sayings. It says it takes a village to raise a child, and a child can destroy a village. That's St. Augustine. Believe me, that's St. Augustine. During that particular time, you did not need to be someone else's child. You follow me? I can remember my mother one distinct time, and I'm going to tell you this, and it's a story I think about. I have a young man, James Jackson, same name as mine. He, in turn, he got into something one day. I came home that day after being out playing, and my mom got in, and my grandmother got in touch with her and told her I was accused of stealing somebody's oranges or something. And she in turn called me, and she's going to chastise me for out stealing. No, ma'am, I didn't do it. She's got this peach tree. She's got this peach switch. And that's why I don't eat peaches now.
Those bad boys do not break at all.
And she had this peach switch, and she's chastising me and constantly telling me I'm out stealing oranges. No, ma'am. My mother came back and told me, said, well, you calling me a lie then, right? And you knew good and well you don't do anything like that to your parents. You don't call them a lie. No, ma'am. Well, you did it. No, ma'am, I didn't do it. My mother, in turn, took me to the lady who went accused Jimmy Jackson of stealing oranges off that tree. And we got there, and the lady came out and informed my mother, saying, "No, Orabelle, not your Jimmy Jackson, Anime's Jimmy Jackson."
Oh, no.
I thought my mother was going to apologize to me. She looked at me with a very calm face. She said, "Well, I'm not going to apologize to you, but that'll take care of some of the things that I didn't get you for, okay?"
Oh.
But she did indirectly apologize, because that particular Sunday she baked a cake and I got a very large feast.
Yes. Wow.
So that's why I say St. Augustine is that village. And all of these individuals are raising their child. You follow me?
So, this village, let's break down and dissect this village a little bit. Can you tell me about maybe some black businesses that were here in the community that you were familiar with growing up? Restaurants, stores, I heard y'all had laundromats, I heard y'all had everything here.
Well, you can forget about laundromat, young lady, because that's a little bit early for washing machines. You had a rub board.
Okay.
You had a rub board. As a matter of fact, I can remember one lady, I was looking at a pressing iron that you guys have out there. I doubt if you know what a pressing iron is. Mm-hmm. But that's a flat iron, and it's made out of all metal, and you would heat that thing on the stove, and believe me, you put those clothes on that ironing board, and when you went and smoothed that bad boy out, it was just like you got some pressure or something doing something. I can remember our local funeral home here, the Johnsons, the Johnson Funeral Home. Bob Johnson was the owner of that. My grandmother was friends with Ms. Lois Johnson and the whole bit. And I can remember being around that funeral home. We had, on Bridge Street, we had our local, what you call drugstore. You had, we referred to him as Dr. Ford, but I was told that he was not a doctor, but this is the way you addressed him. He was the owner. And then you had Dr. Mills, who was supposedly the pharmacist. We had our drugstore. We had our barber shops. Had 3 or 4 barber shops in the Lincolnville area. McCall's barber shop. McCall Ernest Wells barber shop. So we had 3 or 4 barber shops that area. They weren't not. These businesses were black owned. We had a movie theater in the Lincolnville area that was white owned, but we had our own movie theater in the area. We this is one thing I don't like. You're going to find this anywhere you go. We had 2 places that sold hard liquor. They were white owned, but their clientele was all black. We had a Pugh Hall. Let's see what else we had. Our grocery store. Basically, we had just about everything that you would want to keep you entertained, to pacify you. I'm not going to go say satisfied. We even had a white-owned store, not a 5 and dime, but somewhat similar to that. That type store, you go and buy, little clothing and stuff, and you could do it. So this area had basically just about everything that an individual would want for during that time.
Yeah. What about the sports here?
The sports here, young lady, it was football, basketball. That is the two sports that the schools played that was over there. But we would get our own little softball games, and we basically did softball due to the fact that being limited to space, it was very hard to go and do baseball because there's a hard ball, and that ball travels so far. As a matter of fact, right across the street from the museum here, we used to go and play softball and a little football, sandlot football there on the side of the school. So we basically entertained ourselves. You had no organized athletics during that time other than in the high school, like I stated earlier, basketball and football.
You just mentioned high school briefly. Can you talk about where you attended high school?
Pardon me?
Where did you attend high school? Because I know before we started, you said you did a year here.
Yeah.
And then you went to...
This was not a high school. This was it was sixth grade. This is basically what you call junior high when I attended, and you go and find that my eighth grade year, I attended school here. Our black school, which was the high school, 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th. After doing this 1 year here, I went and graduated and went to the high school, which was Murray High.
And can you talk about the experience that you had at Murray High? Especially with its location being close to Florida Normal during that time?
You're going to find that at Murray, with that being the only black school in this city, this is where you met everyone in this city at Murray. You're going to find that we have different areas of St. Johns County that you would call black areas. The Piccolata area that's out west of St. John's, those individuals, they were bused over to Murray. If you lived in any place in St. John's other than the Hastings, Spuds, Elkton area and were black, you attended Murray High.
And as students there, did y'all have any interactions during your time that you can remember with the college students at Florida Memorial? Which Florida Normal, but now Florida Memorial that's moved to?
The only interactions we would basically have with the college at that particular time would be whatever young people were majoring in education, to go and have them what they're going to call their practice internship, going out into class to go and get that. Other than that, we didn't. You're going to find that the college was very separate from the community. The college president, he did not particularly care for his student body to commingle with the citizenry here. Point in fact, you're going to find that at the college, they had a swimming pool. There's no pool around here for blacks anywhere. The only black pool in this county, in St. Johns County, was at Florida Normal. We in turn would slip on campus and get in that pool to swim. He in turn would inform employees of the thing, any kids caught in that pool to get them out. And the one thing that disturbed me was this: we had kids during that particular time. We called them gravel pits, burrow pits. I can remember a friend of mine very vividly drowned in one of those burrow pits. And this man would not go and open that pool up to the community, to the black community.
And it was a burrow pit?
Burrow pit. It's a gravel pit. You're going to dig gravel and stuff out of it. And saying it was a building material that they used around it. Coquina, you know what coquina is?
Vaguely.
All right, well, coquina, you're going to find that's a form of gravel. But they use that as a building material around here. And these pits could be pretty large and pretty deep.
Oh, wow.
And this is what we use. That, or I can remember down here what we call the dock, where the boats are based at. You were small and you got caught down there on that dock or places in that area. The older guys who knew how to swim would come up to the younger guys. Can you swim? Yes. Push your butt overboard. Walk up to you. Can you swim? No. Push your butt overboard. Now kick your feet and wave your hands. Kick your feet and wave your hands. Kick your feet and wave your hands. You learn how to swim that way.
Oh, wow.
And did you learn how to swim that way?
Yes, ma'am. What the hell did? See, we had no instructors or anything of that to instruct us on swimming techniques and proper way of swimming and stuff. So, but the older guys, believe me, they would go and take you, push you overboard, and yell instructions down to you on how to get out there. And the first stroke we would always learn was something called a dog pedal. We would learn how to do that dog pedal. And if you want to get out that water, you do. We had more people to drown in burrow pits and things of that nature than we did at the dock. And believe me, that water down, that's the San Sebastian River that flows into the Matanzas River, which flows into the Atlantic. That thing is pretty deep. Yeah, and if it's deep enough to go and hold one of those shrimp trawlers, you know it's pretty deep. We had more people to go and drown, you understand me, in burrow pits than we did at the dock.
So did you guys ever spend time at the beach here?
Oh yeah, you would get that trip to the beach maybe once or twice a year. You have to go and realize that Butler Beach, being south of here, you had to have an automobile in order to go and get the automobiles. We were not available to us at that time. Periodically, people, different churches or something, would go and sponsor a trip to the beach and charge you 10, 15 cents, and they would get someone's truck, load up a bunch of people, and take them, give them transportation to and from the beach. And that beach situation is so strange with here and St. Augustine, our beach situation, we just south of here, you find that we had 3 beaches here. The first beach you would get to would be St. Augustine Beach, all white. Next beach you would get to would be Butler Beach, that's the black beach. And then south of Butler Beach would be Crescent Beach, white beach. But you find that Atlantic Ocean flowed right along each of those beaches. Whatever water, if you were in Butler Beach and bathing in that water in Butler Beach, and tide was coming in, the same water that you were bathing in, this is the same water that was at St. Augustine Beach 1 hour later if tide was coming in, or reversal if tide was going out. So we all bathed in the same water, but it wasn't the same area.
And it seems like, well, your story, of course, we initially heard from about you through, of course, your long years of activism. But based off of your story that you told thus far and of your upbringing, what role did your parents, or how did your parents shape you for the world that you were actually living in, coming up in? And how did they influence, if any, your involvement in race relations and civil rights during that time?
To be truthful with you, know it, sir, but you find that I've always been an independent thinker. And I would reach, conclusions on my own. I would go and analyze something and do it on my own. And neither one of my parents were influential in my decision about civil rights. If the civil rights or the rights demonstrations or something, I just saw that it was something wrong here, and somebody needed to say something about it. I'm that way now. I'm that way now. If I see something wrong, I'm going to go and speak out. I'm not going to go and hold my tongue. You may not agree with me, but I'm going to speak out. And I guess that's that is that independency in me, independent thinking that I have. And I try to stress that to my kids to be that way, because someone else says or do something doesn't necessarily make it right for you.
So, if you can recall, what was that defining moment that you knew this is not right and I have to be the one to make a change?
That defining moment was I was at a friend of mine's home, and he subscribed to Jet magazine. And the article came out about Emmett Till. And I don't know if you're familiar with Emmett Till, but Emmett Till was a young man that was visiting his grandparents and kin, and he was from Philadelphia. And he was down in, I'm trying to go in Alabama or Mississippi. I can't remember which of the states it was, but he was accused of saying something bad to a white female. 14 years old. No, I take that back. He didn't say that. She accused him of whistling at her. And he was 14. They had turned that night but lynched him for, quote, supposedly whistling at a white woman.
How old were you?
How old was I at that particular time? I'm 18 coming out of high school, so you're going to get me about, I may have been 14 at that time. I'm trying to go remember when it was, but
So you were around the same age.
yeah. And I remember that thing, and it got me, I couldn't understand, supposedly, I did no harm by whistling, but with him being from Philadelphia and cohabitating with whites, there was nothing strange to him if he did go and do it. But finding out later on that this was untrue. And he was lynched for a simple thing as that.
So when you read this story, I guess you opened up Jet magazine. And during this time, its front cover is there. What was your reaction? What was that feeling?
My feeling was, why did you do this to him? What did he do to deserve this? You're going to find that opening up that magazine, the reason I opened up that magazine, the same individual that I'm talking about that received these magazines was an instructor, and he was very instrumental in my life. He stressed the importance of reading and comprehending what you've read. I can remember, and I'm not getting away from the subject, I've ever returned to it, but I can remember, I'm trying to go and think, it was Dorothy Dandridge or who it was that was killed in an automobile accident, and she was decapitated. I in turn went and asked them, what does this mean, decapitated? Because I thought it was some vulgar word. You follow me? Mm-hmm. He in turn went and got Webster dictionary and came back and put it in front of me, said, look it up. He said, you look it up, you can retain that, you can keep that. I tell you what it is, and it would just go away. And that's why, that was one of the things that got me. So I'm saying that I looked and saw these things happening and wanted to go and bring about a change. I never could understand the individual's objection to, and all it basically came down to was this: the pigmentation or lack of pigmentation of my skin. This is what all racism was basically all about.
And so, 14, you learn about Emmett Till, you have this feeling. Is that the day you start, the next day, or did it fester for a couple of years?
It festered for some years because you're going to have to go and find that at that particular time, the rights movement or nothing had started here. You go and find that they tried to go and have a sit-in here. The college tried to have a sit-in at Woolworth. And the college kids attempted to go and have that sit-in when the sit-ins were becoming popular throughout the South. And I was downtown to go and see our local mob attack those kids from that college. Just before going in that store wanting equal treatment to be served at a lunch counter. I can go and buy everything else that you have in here, but I'm not welcome to sit at that counter to go and eat. And we in St. Augustine, we sat around for years because I'm still in high school during that time. And you read about things and sit-ins and stuff, and we're not doing anything here in St. Augustine. My first year out of high school, we had a young doctor that came to this town, not an MD, but a dentist, Dr. Haley. And I didn't know Haley at that time when he first arrived here, but he became involved with the NAACP. My junior year of high school, they decided they wanted to go and try and get a youth council, NAACP youth council started here with young people. Hey, this sounds good. We joined that. But then the only thing the NAACP did, and we didn't do anything else, the rest of the country, they're protesting and doing, different things. We here in St. Augustine are not doing anything. My final year of high school, I came out and I'm still with with Haley. And we decided we're going to go and do protests here. No sitting, just protest, picket places, the whole bit. And I can remember very distinctly this situation with myself and Haley. We were picketing stores, McCory's, Woolworth, at different businesses here. And the city of St. Augustine had filed an injunction against us going to keep us from picketing. Dr. Haley and myself, we went up to federal court in Jacksonville. And Judge Brian Simpson was hearing the case for St. Augustine versus NAACP, wanting us to stop picketing because this is a tourist town that was hurting their business. We're up there in court that day. We know we got our people down here, don't shop here, equal right, equal treatment for everyone. And we're coming back, Dr. Haley and I were coming back from court that day on US 1. I noticed this police vehicle pass us going north, and I could see all of these heads in that police vehicle, and they looked black. I said, Doc, was that any of our kids? He said, I don't know, I didn't see them. I'm driving. Another car. I looked, I said, man, that's our kids in there. That's our kids in there. So we came back to town. Doc and I, we went downtown where we were supposed to be picketing at, King Street and St. George. And one of the young ladies came up to us, crying, said, the police started picking our people up, taking them to jail. So Dr. Haley said, okay, just calm down. We're going to see about this. I'm in the car with him. He said, number one, I've got to go and let me go and see about trying to go and get them out of jail, see about getting a bondsman. They just knew we had local bondsman here, Boatwright. He just knew that he was going to go and get our business now. And unbeknownst to me, Doc had already had enough foresight to go and prepare for that in case we went to jail. Had a bondsman lined up out of Daytona, Charles Cherry, which was black. All right, I get out of the car. Come on, Jimmy, let's go and see about trying to get these kids out of jail. I said, no, you send a man to go and get me out of jail too, because I'm going to jail with the rest of them. That was my first time being arrested.
So was it empowering when you were arrested with the kids, to continue to do more?
Yes, it was. You're going to find that during that particular time, never having no encounters or anything with law enforcement per se about going to jail or anything. When a white policeman came by and told you, boy, jump, the only thing out your mouth was, how high? Mm-hmm. If he said sit, you said where. And it was empowering to me to go to jail because now I'm going to go and get my voice to go and speak back and tell you, this is wrong. And I'm going to let you know it's wrong. And I think that started my jailing career. That was the first time, and I wound up being arrested here in St. Augustine, I think about 19 times.
Wow.
In the year span, in 2 year span?
I don't know how long it took, but I'll tell you one thing. They arrested my butt so regular until when they came down to go and talk about arresting somebody, I would say where. I can remember Dr. Helling and I one time being arrested together at a church. I was arrested that particular time for, let's see, they charged he and I both with the same charge, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And you have to go and realize I'm 19 years old. Mm-hmm. But I was arrested for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And what that pertained to was I took Doc's car when we had some individuals to get in that pool downtown, the Monson Pool. I'm the one that drove those individuals down there to go and jump in that pool. And that particular night at a meeting, Dr. Helling and I was at the meeting, and L.O. Davis, the head sheriff, and some deputies came to the church and told us we were both under arrest. And that was just one of the times. I was arrested so many times until jail was old home to me.
And I know you talked about your parents gave you, and your dad blessed you with independence. How did they feel about this independence and you actually being active in the struggle during this time?
Well, you have to go and look at both of my parents from the era they came from. My dad, when he first heard about me being involved and being arrested, and you have to go and get this now, like I told you, out of all of my siblings and myself, I'm the first one to be arrested. And he came home very upset because when you say jail and black youth at that time, that was either they were going to take you and send you over to Mariana or someplace of that nature, and everybody's thinking about your welfare And he came in very upset about me being in jail. You know, how was he going to go and get me out? Well, don't worry about that. Let me stay here. We've got that covered. My mother, she semi-accepted it, and she didn't. I can remember the situation with my mom and I. My mother went back to Columbia to see about her father, who was ill at the time. And she was up there for a while. And she came home, and she said, Jimmy, I think it's time for you to go and back up from that now. You did enough. It's time to go and back up. Slow down. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right now, I want you to slow down now. Back up a little bit. You've done enough. Yes, ma'am, I will. All right, I'm going back to Columbia to see about my dad, and I'll call y'all later on. She called. She called at night. Didn't I tell you I wanted you to slow down and back up? Yes, ma'am. Well, if you did, what in the heck am I looking at you on the NBC News for right now? up here, picketing the Augustine airport.
So you talked a lot about the different sit-ins and things that happen, but not just going into depth, if any. Can you kind of just recall? You mentioned the sit-in at Woolsworth, and you talked about the swimming incident, and then you mentioned the airport, which that was new to me as far as protesters in St. Augustine actually going out towards an airport. Can you mention or recall any other sit-ins and demonstrations that happened and that you were involved in?
I was involved in them, yes, but they weren't local. Okay. You have to go and find that I was in the Selma Montgomery March. As a matter of fact, the night Viola Russo was killed, we were coming back from Montgomery, and we glimpsed the automobile on the side of the road, not knowing what it was. But after getting back to Selma, and see, we're jumping way ahead now because we were at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference now. But you're going to find that I got chewed out by Andrew Young because the night she got killed, there were so many people in Selma, this little small place. We had individuals sleeping in the church, which was right across the street from a housing project, and a black housing project. And it was just too many bodies in there for me, so I went across the street to a lady, one of the tenants, and I asked the lady, would it be okay if I slept on your lawn right out front of your apartment building there? She said, yeah. I took a sleeping bag and slept out there that night. And Andy went and got me the next day and chewed me out. He said, do you realize we had somebody get killed last night and you out there sleeping outside like that? I said, Andy, it was too hot in that church for me to sleep, man. Too hot.
So with all the times that you had gone to jail, was there any time where, I know jail is not like the best place to be, but were there times where it was like really bad in jail, like your treatment there? Like, were there guards and stuff like decent towards you guys, or?
No, I can go and be truthful about you. The guards were not abusive or anything of that nature. you're going to find that I'm trying to go and get this situation together. They were not abusive, but they wouldn't cut you any breaks, anything like that. We've I've been in situations where we've actually overcrowded our local jail. We had too many people in the cell that they couldn't accommodate all of us. So, no, they were not abusive to us, no whatsoever. We put a serious dent in their budget for feeding individuals. We put a dent in that. And that's about the only thing we did to them.
Okay.
So you mentioned a lot of time spent with Dr. Halen, and you mentioned an incident of you being charged and arrested for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And I was aware of an incident that happened in St. Augustine where 4 individuals were actually, 4 youth were actually imprisoned and sent to reform schools. And from what my understanding was that they did not want to actually have their parents sign off on disassociating themselves from you and Dr. Halen and the movement. Can you kind of speak to that time period if you're aware of what happened?
Okay, that's going to be Janelle, Willie White, Singleton. God, I'm trying to go remember. Yeah. What it was, the parents were given an option of the kids disassociating themselves with us or being sent. We had 2 females, 2 males. They could take this option of disassociating themselves with the movement or being sent to juvenile detention, state juvenile detention. You have to go find that our young people, and I'm saying our young people, like I'm disassociating myself. I'm a young person myself, but we were a bunch of headstrong young people. You follow me? We wanted change, and we wanted it now. Not tomorrow, right now. And you find that these 4 individuals told their parents, informed them, we don't want that. We'd rather take the reformatory than take that. You find that the movement here in St. Augustine basically centered around individuals who were 14, 12, 13, mid-teens. You find that these are the ones that were out here on the street every day. The parents could not go out there because they were totally dependent upon the white man for their livelihood. You follow me? But these young people, what do you want? We want change. When do you want it? Now. You understand me? We want it now. And that was it. The parents, we had parents to go and try and keep some of the kids away, to get their kids to disassociate with us. But that being rebellious, and I have to go and say being rebellious, young people know we've got to go and bring about a change, and we need to go and do it now. And Mom, I love you, but I don't agree with you.
And I guess speaking more to that effect in that time, how did you feel when that incident happened, and how did, and of course we can't ask him, but how did Dr. Halen take to that whole incident, and yourself, or young people still around your age to say, no, I'm with you all, and not my parents. They had that kind of same independent spirit that you had, but they didn't have permission. And
Well, you that just gave him more of a leadership role to go and work with these kids. Henning was the type of person that, and I enjoyed this about him. He had a thing about him wearing that. He actually talked to young people, not at them. Talk to them. Let me go and get on your level with you. Let me sit down here and like they would say, let me sit down here and rap with you, and let's get this. Let's see what this is all about. Let me go and talk to you. You follow me? And the older generation I find, never talked to young individuals. And that's one of the steering things that got me, that Halen would do this. He would talk to young people.
And as someone so influential in the movement here, and I'm aware that his house was attacked. Were you at present during those times when his house? Because I know it was also surveillance and protected by the local community as well.
Well, it wasn't the surveillance or anything. That was in the Rollins subdivision area. As a matter of fact, his home, where that and speaking in reference to, my home, this is my home, was right around the corner from him. I was on the corner of Rollins and Christopher, and he's right around the corner from me. But no, we had no surveillance or anything, individuals out there protecting the home, because we thought nothing of it. You follow? We didn't realize what a dangerous thing we were doing at that particular time, how dangerous it could actually go and get to be. And you find that his wife was pregnant at the time when they shot in the home, and they had to go to a black not neighborhood, but housing development to go and do this. So, this. And I don't want to go and get away from this, and I don't want to go and get away from our conversation. But today, if a lot of individuals were to go and think about it, without the white racists, we would not have made as much progress as we did. The white racists trying to go and keep the black man down actually gave him momentum. And the reason I say that is that I try to stress this, and I'm going to stress this from now on. Here, where you are right now, St. Augustine, a lot of individuals don't realize the importance of St. Augustine in the rights movement. St. Augustine, be it not for St. Augustine, Lyndon Baines Johnson was reluctant to go and sign the Civil Rights Bill, St. Augustine being on international and national news every night. You understand me? Forced Johnson into signing that bill because he went and J. Edgar Hoover. He called down and asked Hoover, "What is the problem with them Negroes down at St. Augustine? You've got to go and do something." This place right here forced him into signing that bill. That bill was there to be signed, but he was reluctant to do it. Getting back to my racist situation. If it don't be for the racists with their violent attacks on individuals that were not attacking them or anything violent towards them, we would not be where we are today. I think we still would be out there fighting.
And you mentioned that it got dangerous, and for you it did get dangerous. Very dangerous. Life-threatening dangerous, right? Can you share that story with us? 'Cause I want you to tell that story.
Well, what it was, hailing Clyde Jenkins, James Hauser, and myself, we were abducted by the Ku Klux Klan. Connie Lynch and the Klan, they came into St. Augustine, wanted to have a Klan rally. We've got our young people out demonstrating every day. And we don't know whether they're going to send those young people out the next day or not. And they're having this big rally down US 1 South and inviting all these whites in to go and do this. And Jimmy Hauser, said he knew of a way that they could get behind that meeting and possibly over here find out what their plans were for the next day. I said, "Well, you aren't going to forget me. I'm going to. After going to realize I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm going too." So the four of us, we're going down to eavesdrop on the Klan. The Klan, in turn, had sentries out. We're trying to go and eavesdrop on them, and they, in turn, got us. They captured us, the four of us. And they took us into this meeting, into this Klan meeting, this mob. They took us in there, the four of us, and they're trying to go and figure out what to do with us. They don't realize they got Hailing, Jackson, the whole bit of there at the time. They didn't recognize us. They got us in this meeting, and they began to go and beat on us. And when I mean beat, I mean that mob mentality was something else. They began to go and beat on us. They separated us, and I heard Jimmy Hauser holler out in pain. This guy that was on me, I'm about 130 pounds. He's about 250 some pounds, this white guy. I can only speak about me. He took me, he's in front of me, he balled his fist up, and bam, hit me. When he hit me, I fell back against an automobile. And I stood back up. I was determined not to go and let this guy knock me down. He hit me the first time. I went back and used the automobile for a brace to keep from going down, and I came back up. Third time he hit me, I did the same thing again. After he hit me that third time, he looked around and told some of his comrades, "Oh, by God, this nigga just ain't gonna go down." He hit me the fourth time. I went back, and I was dazed. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't find out until afterwards that when I went back that fourth time, and I had my head back, it was a guy behind me with a lug wrench that went and hit me in the top of my head. And that's the one that went dazed me. And I caught myself going down, and but I was determined not to go down. By that time, when I got back up, they in turn want to go and figure out what to go and do with us. And somebody said, well, what we gonna do with them? Somebody said, let's hang those niggas. Somebody else in the crowd said, no, let's burn those niggas. Somebody else came up with the suggestion, said no. And this is where I'm going to tell you, you look deep enough for a little bit of humor, and this is my humorous anecdote to this. Somebody said, no, let's go and castrate those niggas. I said, oh, hell, I got to get out of here now. I got to get out of here now. I'm 19 years old and you talk about castrate. I got to leave here now. So when they suggested that, you have to go and realize every time that this guy would hit me, I would go back and I would come back up, and about right here, a guy had a 12-gauge shotgun in my face, telling me, nigga, don't move. I said, don't worry, I'm not gonna move, not for this damn gun, this gun that goes to my face. So when somebody said, let's castrate them niggas, I said, I got to get out of here some kind of way. One of the other guys, Hauser or Jenkins or somebody, went and yelled out. And when they yelled out, the guy with the shotgun that was in my face, he looked away. And I know that I got to leave here now, so I broke and ran. And the only way I knew out of that place was the way that they had taken us in there. I didn't think that they still had guards down there, and I'm away from that damn crowd. Would you believe they had two people to go and stop me down that damn road, down that road? And I'm back in these woods. I said, oh, I done messed up now. I'm away from everybody else. I don't believe I'm going to go and get out of this. But, unbeknownst to me, they had, at that time, some individuals from the Southern Poverty League that was monitoring that meeting, and they witnessed this beating and stuff that we were going through. They in turn called and made an official report that we got 4 black men, 4 colored men down here just about to be lynched. Unbeknownst to me that the sheriff was there the whole time at this meeting, And he came forward. He said, all right, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. He got the four of us and piled us in the back of a patrol car and took us to the hospital going to get medical treatment. Me, still being independent again. Mom's home by herself. They said, I know I've got a laceration in my skull. They want to go and check me to go and see if I had a concussion because the guy that hit me with that lug wrench. I said, no, I'm going home to go and check on my mother. I'm going home to check on my mother because she was at home by herself. My dad wasn't there. And I, in turn, refused to stay in the hospital with them. I, in turn, went home going to assure my mother that I was okay. And the next day I was abducted again. And what I mean by that, we had one of our local ministers to come up to me. And because the next day after that beating, they had a rally downtown in the plaza, what they call the slave market. And they've got all of these Klansmen and things down there at this rally. I in turn got Haling's Volkswagen. He had a 56 Volkswagen convertible. I took that convertible and I got it from one of the other guys because we was using that to go and transport picketers and stuff down back and forth downtown. I told Harold, I said, Harold, let me have the keys to the bug. He said, what you finna do? I said, let me have the keys to the bug. I got that Volkswagen, put that top down, and I've got these patches on my head, and I've got stitches in my head from the whole bit. I put that top down, and I rode round and round that plaza with all those Klansmen there with that top down. You might have beaten me when I'm still up. And what I meant by being abducted, one of the local ministers came to me and said, Jimmy, come on and take a ride with me. Where are we going, Reverend Wells? Well, we're going up here to go and see about doctor. I said, they're in Flagler Hospital. He said, no, we transferred them up to Jacksonville. And so I'm going to go and see about them. So I, in turn, got in the car with him to go up there to Jacksonville to see about Dr. Haling and Jenkins and Hauser. And I got up there to Jacksonville to go in and walked up on the floor to go and see about them. And I heard Haling go and tell Reverend Wells, thank you. Thank you. Got up there. I'm up there to go and see about them. And when I get up there to go and see about them, I was informed, he talked about Haling, said, you might as well take your clothes off because you're not going anywhere. So that was my second abduction. You might as well take your clothes off and get in that bed right there because you're not going anywhere.
And you know, with your story that you told us, you know, and research that we've done, and especially working with people here at the museum, you know, it's been written about in a book, and there's a photo actually here at the museum that one of the Klans member was actually a female, and she was one of the ones who either she wanted to have y'all burned, but she was vocal at that particular meeting that you all were kidnapped and beaten at. Do you recall any female voice or women present?
I can't recall any female voice at that particular time because when they took us into that meeting, that everything became so loud and the whole bit, and you have to go and realize they had their own little PA system and the whole bit. I can't pick any voice out, But while I'm talking to you right now, I would love to do this. This is a project of mine. I would love to go and do it. Halstead Manusi was over our local clan, and I'm going to try and do this. If he's got any surviving members of his family or any or that nature, I would love to go and have a one-on-one to sit down with them, just go and sit down to go and converse. No anger, because I don't have any anger. I don't have time to go and dwell on that. See, I have a philosophy I live by, and this is something I taught my kids to go and do this. I live for today. I hope for tomorrow. And I reminisce about yesterday.
I would say we could end here, but I can ask more questions and more questions. I know that you can. I don't want to exclude you if you have questions and things that you want to talk about. I do want to respect your time. We have been sitting here for an hour, maybe 15?
24 minutes.
24 minutes. You ended on a great note. And I personally can't think of anything to ask you right now.
Yeah. This was like pretty thorough.
This is a story itself.
You are
This
a
is
story.
very enlightening.
You
I
said a
went to a
lot.
meeting with him, and he was sitting back there quietly, and I told the people, this is a historical figure here. And I told him what everybody wanted his signature, his autograph. Because they wasn't aware that he was the person that masterminded a lot of this stuff that happened. I was a smaller girl, because he was along with my older sister. But I can remember Jimmy Jackson. I can remember him.
And I mean, I can ask you about your involvement in Montgomery, and then you mentioned Sailor, and I'm a historian. This is my trade. You know, I've read plenty of books. We can talk all day, but I do want to ask.
That's the first part. Just make it
Yes.
a continuation.
But I do want to ask you this last question, because a lot of people, because the story about St. Augustine is around the civil rights movement, but with that story, it's also about your predominant leaders of MLK coming and Andrew Young being here. But when a lot of people don't know is all the local foot soldiers and the grassroots organizers that were already moving and shaping the movement before Dr. King arrived, or even sent Mr. J.T. Johnson to do the swim-in. So I want to ask you this question. How was the movement prior to Dr. King, and how did he influence it or change it to make it a national story, more so than keeping the hearts and desires of those who live right here in Lincolnville and St. Augustine of focus?
I can answer that very easily. You're going to find that prior to Dr. King, SCLC coming in here, you find that the movement was a very lackadaisia type thing. We were under the umbrella of the NAACP. NAACP during that particular time, and they still do it now, is one of the stronger black organizations that we have. But the NAACP, it works through our judicial system. You find that during this particular time, this era that I'm talking about is when you got Slick, you've got young people going to different ways. We in St. Augustine, with that lackadaisia thing, we sat back and these young people, my young people, me, we wanted action. We wanted action. And we, with King having come in to the area, we got away from this basic, I'm carrying a sign, I'm picketing, and that's it. We weren't looking at the monetary effect on an area, and monetary effect is one thing that help us achieve some of the things. It has its thing there, but you have to go out and you have got to go and put forth some type of physical effort behind anyone to let them know. I can go and tell you all day, you step on my foot, and I'm going to let you stand there and not say anything, but then you come and step on my foot again. That hurts. I don't tell you, that hurts. You're going to go and stand there all day. I've got to go and let you know, inform you of how I feel about it. That hurts. Well, you never said anything. Well, I'm letting you know, that hurts.
And I just want to leave with this. Is there anything that we might not have covered in this one sitting that is on your mind now that you want to leave with us? Because the floor is open. I don't have too many more questions to ask at this moment.
Well, the only thing I want to go and leave right now is this, that I had this question posted to me some time ago, and I would like to go and express my view on it about integration. How do I feel about it now pertaining to the black man now and then? There are a lot of individuals that will not agree with me and may even go and take umbrage against what I'm about to say. But I look at integration today has somewhat hurt the black man. And the reason I say this is that you're going to find percentile-wise the high school dropout rate with the black man has increased in this country. Percentile-wise, even though we have more blacks now, but percentile-wise, the dropout rate has increased. Number two, you're going to find that a lot of individuals don't realize this fact, the importance of the black man. The black man, theoretically, is the largest or one of the largest employers in this country. Strangely, how can that be? Very easily. With about 1/4 of our total population being incarcerated today, being incarcerated in prison today, the majority of those individuals are people of color and blacks. And if you didn't have all of these people incarcerated, you would not need all of these prisons nationwide being built which in turn hires all of these guards to go and keep those people incarcerated.
Thank you.
That is a good place to start.
Thank you.